Ladies and gen-
I do.
okay, great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shelby County Board of Education's January 30th, 2018 Board Business Meeting. Ms. Anthony, please call the roll.
Board Member Caldwell,
Here.
Board Member Orgel, Board Member Woods, Board Member Love,
Here.
Board Member McCormick,
McCormick.
Yes, here. Present.
Board Member Jones, Board Member Bibbs, Board Member Cornell, Chair Avant.
Present.
You have 6 present.
So we have a quorum. We're going to now ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Color Guard to present and post the colors. We have joining us Tyronia Conley, Batan Hashwa, Markel Belchler, and Tequila Simpson, all from Central High School.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. We'll start with the Spotlight on the Arts, special recognitions and presentations. We do want to be mindful that we have a lot of our students and teachers who make a significant contribution that we want to honor tonight. And in keeping with SCS's acknowledgement of arts education as being a vital for college career and life readiness, tonight's Spotlight on the Arts will feature the visual arts. First, we would like to recognize the winners of the annual SCS Holiday Card Design Contest. Images of their winning works are going to be displayed on our screens. Students, please come to the front when your names are called, and we're going to ask the audience if you could please hold applause until all names have been called, and I'll let you know at the end of that recognition so that we can make sure they get their applause. Honorable mention, and these were $25 in prizes, and we have a list of students: Brandon Tran, 2nd grade at Snowden School, teacher Kelly Lindsay; Jocelyn Nicholas, 8th grade, Colonial Middle School, teacher Jennifer Shubaru; Renee Joplin, 6th grade, Colonial Middle School, also teacher Jennifer Shubaru. General SCS cards, $50 in prizes: Tanya Carrillo, 3rd grade, South Park, teacher Miss Melissa Crown Morris; Mariah Perry's, 9th grade, Germantown High School, teacher Remy Miller. For the World Languages holiday card, $50 in prizes, we had Sarah Carabel, 12th grade, Germantown High School, teacher Teresa Phillips. The Fine Arts holiday card, Alice Zaccarino, 12th grade, Germantown High School, teacher Ashley Durst. Social Studies holiday card, Ruth Diaz, 3rd grade, South Park Elementary School, teacher Melissa Crown Morris. And then for the Professional Development holiday card, Noah Broadway, Snowden School, teacher Hall Harmon. For the Curriculum and Instruction holiday card, Julie Sanders, 2nd grade, Roselle Elementary, teacher Kim Warnett. And then for the SES card, Alex, I'm sorry if I mispronounced, Tamberschmidt, 8th grade, Colonial Middle School, teacher Jennifer Shubaru. And then for the Superintendent's card, Linda Ton, 11th grade, Germantown High School, teacher Ashley Durst. So if we could have a round of applause for all of our students. We're going to go forward for a picture, 4 members. We were having a bit of technical difficulties, but the holiday cards are coming now. Now we'd like to recognize and present the Gold Key winners from the Mid-South Scholastic Art Competition. These awards honor exemplary art by students in 7th through 12th grades, recognizing their outstanding achievements in competitive annual exhibition. In this year's competition, SCS had a total of 26 Gold Key members, 39 Silver Key winners, and 119 honorable mentions. Regional Gold Key winners are eligible for scholarships and cash prizes, and they will have their work entered into the national competition. The 2018 Mid-South Scholastic Exhibition is currently on view at the Brooks Museum through February 11th. The award ceremonies will take place on Saturday, February 10th. I'm going to ask those students to come forward, and if we could hold the applause until the end. Colonial Middle School, art teacher Jennifer Shubaru, principal Marquis Pfeiffer. The students are Artumbari Mini, 8th grade, drawing and illustration. Anissa Shank, 8th grade, comic art. From Germantown Middle School, we had Jessica Sattinghoff, 8th grade, painting. Teacher is Shannon Murray and principal Ami Marsh. Central High School, Galen Hicks, 11th grade, photography. Jessica White is art teacher, principal Mr. Gregory McCullough. Overton High School, Jayla Hall, 11th grade, painting. Tamia Burris, 12th grade, digital art. Art teacher is Amy Shamlin, and Michael Mosby is principal. Teachers are Amy Shamlin and Michael Mosby, principal Greg Billings. Keela Evans, 12th grade, drawing and illustration and art portfolio. Arlie Herrera, 12th grade, art portfolio. Gabrielle Marshall, 12th grade, photography. Safari Scruggs, 12th grade, drawing and illustration. Trinity Walker, 12th grade, painting and photography. And from White Station High School, we had Shadar Antamarin, 11th grade, drawing and illustration. Zoe Reeves, 11th grade, mixed media. Stephanie Wang, 11th grade, drawing and illustration. Virginia McDonald, 12th grade, photography. Sarah Summers, 12th grade, art portfolio. Lakishma Tumali, 12th grade, comic art. Lily Dixon, 10th grade, drawing and illustration. Kennedy Jarrett, 12th grade, drawing and illustration. Katie Pritchard, 12th grade, drawing and illustration. And from Whitehaven High School, Mercille Hall, 12th grade, photography. Valerie Hobson, 12th grade, photography. Lauren Wilson, 12th grade, photography. To all of our teachers and students here tonight, congratulations. I'm going to ask the audience to give these young people another round of applause because they are gifted in so many ways. We're also recognizing tonight the Mu Alpha Theta students at White Station High School under the leadership of Ms. Yanni Kwa and Principal David Mansfield. Mrs. Kwa's students consistently rank among the top in the local, state, and national arena. Recently, White Station's Mu Alpha Thetas placed 8th in the National Ciphering Time Trials and 1st in the National Tennessee Math Competition. We are so proud of you and your victories, and keep up the great work. We want to give them a round of applause. Are any of those students from White Station present tonight? Please come forward so we can recognize you. Come on. I hate that Mr. Orgel just missed pictures with his white station students for Mu Alpha Theta, who have done exceptionally well, but we're very proud of them. I do want to make sure that we read into the record that Mr. Orgel has joined us. We're next going to recognize those students who recently competed in the SCIAA swimming championships. We often recognize those student athletes who participate in both basketball and football, but I think it's always good to recognize all of our student athletes who make such a contribution. So this year, the Central High School girls swimming team recently placed first in the SCIAA competition. This is their second year in a row as girls city champions. The coach is Jen Woods Bowen, the athletic director is Brady Benjamin, and the principal is Greg McCullough. If they could come forward. We're also going to recognize the White Station boys swimming team placed first in the SCIAA men's swimming competition. Coach Rachel Kennedy has been coaching the team for the last 5 years. The team is preparing to go to state competition next week in Knoxville. We're going to wish them their best. And the athletic director is Mark McDonald, and the principal is David Mansfield. They will come forward. We also want to recognize Ariana Pointer, who was named the girls MVP for the SCIAA Swim Championship. She is a student at Central High School who loves to swim, is a dedicated swimmer, and continues to perform in and out of the pool. Congratulations to Ariana. We're very proud of all of our student athletes. We're also going to bring forward Kentarius Braxton, who was the boys MVP for the swim championship. Kentarius is a senior at Overton High School, a 17-year honors and AP student who has been a swimmer since age 11. If all of those students will come forward, and we'll take a picture with those members. Let's give them a round of applause for our swimmers. Okay, last but not least, we'd like to take a moment and recognize, is this from here? Yes. We'd like to take a moment and recognize some of our educators. This evening, Shelby County Schools recently announced 2 of its Teachers of the Year. Miss Emily Talkman, a teacher at Kingsbury Elementary, was named as Elementary Teacher of the Year. She is affectionately known by her students and has consistently demonstrated a positive example and dedicated herself to educating students and creating a space for students to enjoy learning as much as she loves teaching. That's a mouthful. Miss T could not be present tonight, but she is attending as an education standards conference along with her principal, Mr. Earl. We're proud of Miss T and Mr. Earl for their hard work. We also would like to recognize the Middle School Teacher of the Year, Miss Natasha Medford. Miss Medford was selected last week for her passion for learning and enjoys sharing her enthusiasm with students at Ridgeway Middle School. Miss Medford is a Level 5 teacher and now nominee for the Tennessee Teacher of the Year. Miss Medford, if you're present. Take a picture. Yeah, go.
Get on there.
It's just 2 more.
You need the exercise. Yeah, man.
Okay, last but not least, we'd like to recognize a few outstanding educators who during the recent round of icy weather forced SCS to close in order to ensure safety for our students. But we had 2 teachers who, notwithstanding the weather, also made it an opportunity to still teach virtually. We would like to recognize Ms. Janita Glass, who teaches applied mathematical concepts, bridge math, and sales at Craigmont High School, and Ms. Candace Brown, who teaches English at Raleigh Egypt High School. Both are recognized on both local and national news outlets for their outstanding dedication to our students. If they could come forward for a photo, please. And then I'm going to recognize.
That's your call.
Yeah. I'd also like to ask Miss Melissa Collins, a teacher from John P. Freeman Optional School. Miss Collins is a finalist for the Global Teacher Prize. She is one of 50 finalists out of 30,000 applications from more than 170 countries. We're extremely proud of Dr. Collins. And we wish her the best on her success, and I see that her principal has joined us. Both come forward, please. Miss Randy Scott Howard. The question, we're now moving to the approval of the agenda. I want to take a moment and also thank these educators who give so much day in and day out to our students. We appreciate their commitment to SCS and our students. We're now on the approval of the agenda. The question is now on the approval. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Madam Chair, we'd like to add the discussion of the Bear Building to the agenda. I know there was an executive session yesterday and want to be able to discuss that publicly today.
Okay. All right, so we're adding discussion on the Bear Building. This is to move forward with Phase 2 study.
As a follow-up to the ad hoc facility meeting to propose an action item to negotiate a PSA. That was the topic for today.
Okay. It'll be 12.3. Okay, well now, with there being no any other additions to the agenda, we are now ready for a vote. Ms. Anthony?
Board Member Caldwell,
Aye.
Board Member Orgel, Board Member Woods, Board Member Love,
Aye.
Board Member McCormick,
Aye.
Board Member Jones,
Aye.
Board Member Biggs,
Aye.
Board Member Cornell,
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 7 ayes.
We have a quorum. The agenda is approved with the amendment, Thank you. We're now going to move to public comment. Tennessee law makes no specific provisions for the participation of the public at meetings of local boards of education. However, board policy provides that not more than 30 minutes of each regular business and special call meeting shall be devoted to public comment. Speakers must state their name, home address, organization he or she is representing, if any, and subject of the presentation before they are permitted to proceed. Speakers may offer objective comments about the school operations and programs that concern them. Speakers are asked to refrain from using names of personnel or names of persons connected with the school system, particularly when lodging a complaint. Speakers will not be permitted to engage in gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive language or vulgar language. The chairman shall have the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to board rules. The timer projected on the screen to your right and directly behind the board will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining. When you hear 2 bells, your time is expired.
It's only 1 minute apiece. We got a lot of
So each speaker will have 1 minute because of the number of names that we have tonight. We're going to start with Wendy The Truth. Joyce Lindsay will follow her, and then Edward Lindsay following Miss Lindsay.
we're talking to the mic.
Ma'am, can you speak into the microphone?
Is it on? Superintendent Hobson, board members, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Wendy The Truth, 2559 Bridgewood Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38114. A 1953 Hamilton graduate. I'm here speaking as a mother, human being, and Christian. I passed this here, Reverend Henderson, to go along with my Christianity. For Mrs. Monica Smith, who has been suspended without pay from Hamilton High School. Mrs. Smith's crime being accused of grade changing at Hamilton at 1:57 a.m. May 20th, same day of graduation. I don't believe that Mrs. Smith or any other sane person would enter Hamilton High School or any other South Memphis school at that time without help of the National Guard. Mrs. Smith was ordered to the board's law firm. I won't call any names since I just heard I'm not supposed to do that. Mrs. Smith went to the board's lawyers because her bosses told her to do, without any questioning, a big mistake, without legal help, not even a seeing eye dog, was interrogated, questioned, and sent home. Was that 1 minute? Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Lindsay.
Well, since my time is short, I'll leave off the introductions. My name is Joyce Heylin. I reside at 2515 King Road, Memphis, Tennessee, 38106. Superintendent Hobson, board members, cabinet members. My first visit here was as a community person to petition the closing of Alsea Elementary School. My second visit here was to accompany my bishop, Elaine Brown, who supported you, Superintendent Hobson. My third visit here tonight is in support of Principal Smith. I'm a '63 graduate of Hamilton High School, a 2-time retiree, Shelby County Board of Education, and Tunica County Schools, a community member, a mom, and a taxpayer. In my personal observation, Principal Smith has been an asset to the students at Hamilton High School, a compassionate leader, a careful decision maker, always keeping the students' best interests in mind, and a strong advocate for academic and vocational programs. While it is my understanding that the board has reached a decision regarding Principal Smith, I ask you to review, reconsider, and reinstate Principal Smith with retroactive pay so she may continue in the field of education with her license. Justice for Ms. Smith, justice for the students at Hamilton, and justice for our community. Thank you.
Edward Lindsay.
Superintendent Hobson, the members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward H. Lindsay, and I reside at 2515 King Road, 38106. When it was learned that the principal of Hamilton had been suspended without pay and would be consequently terminated, I was both appalled and stunned. Here's what we know. Ms. Smith has been at Hamilton for 3 years. She has never had a complete staff. The core subjects, math, English, science, foreign language, have been handled or managed by longtime subs. It is apparent that Shelby County School is not seriously about educating inner city children. In conclusion, social science teaches us, and I quote, there are some things that are so ritualistic that if you dare tamper with them, the end results will be nothing less than catastrophic. The education in Memphis is at a critical point. We can stop this madness by having the board and the community work together, first by reinstating Principal Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Al Washington, Harold Pete, Chastity Torrey, in that order.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle McAdams.
We're in order of the signed form, and the next person on the list is Al Washington. Am I missing something?
Good evening. I'm Al Washington, 4630 Duluth Avenue, 38118. I'm a 1988 graduate of Hamilton High School. Several years ago, the Alumni Association started a tutorial program, a peer tutoring program by students to tutor other students. At the time we started the program, it was under a different principal, and the focus primarily was on graduating seniors and at-risk seniors. We believe, because Monica Smith accepted the program, we believe it helped increase the graduation rates, because there was a increase in graduation rates and also an increase in English scores as well as math scores, which are the primary areas of tutorials. Also, after the seniors, it also trickled down to juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. Thank you.
Harold Pete, Chastity Torrey, and then Reginald Simmons.
Good evening. My name is Harold Pete. I live at 90 Polk Cove, Senatobia, Mississippi, and I'm a 12-year former student at Hamilton High School. I started in 1956 and I graduated May of 1968. I'm also a lifetime member of the Hamilton High School Alumni Association, and I urge you to reinstate Principal Smith. Thank you very much.
Chastity Torrey, Reginald Simmons, and then William Jones.
Did you call me Holyfield?
Chastity Torrey is the next.
Chastity Torrey, 5555 Patsy Circle West. I'm here on behalf of my nonprofit organization, Renewing the Mind, Body, and Soul, which is a mentoring program that is geared towards mentoring at-risk female youth. My program is currently implemented at Ridgeway High School, where I have selected females that were brought to me upon the 9th grade principal to help them with their behavior. I'm going to follow these young ladies. Some of them are not with me on tonight, 9th through 12th grade, where I'm going to open the doors to different opportunities for them. And I also like to implement this program in different schools within Shelby County. But I come to you today not to only spread awareness about my program, but I am currently working on a retreat that I would like to implement in the high schools, selected high schools and middle schools. But I'm going to need your approval for this retreat, which is a sisterhood retreat to try to lower teen violence and bullying among female students and to bring whole unity. But I would need the whole female student body to be excused for 1 day of classes, which me and other female leaders in the community are going to come forth and talk to these young ladies. I'm going to have females and politicians, entrepreneurs, and etc. And we're going to bring unity amongst our female students and lower the violence.
Thank you, Ms. Torrey. Mr. Simmons. Mr. Simmons, Reginald Simmons.
Yes, my name is Reginald Simmons. I live 3766 Mark Road, and I'm a 12-year graduate of Hamilton, graduated in the class of 1970. And I'm just here in support of reinstating Ms. Smith back to her job. Thank you.
Mr. William Jones.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson, Superintendent, Board members. I'm Lieutenant Commander William E. Jones, Jr., 1970 Central Avenue, and here with the Hamilton alumni. I'll give you a brief biography for a reason. I'm a retired naval flight officer flown in combat, flight training, and Morehouse College graduate. But before all of that, no, thank you for that, but no. That happened because I'm a 1976 Hamilton Wildcat. And I am not, while I consider myself blessed to have been successful, exceptional. I counted my classmate alone, a sitting judge, a fire battalion chief, physicians, nurses, automobile technicians, HVAC continued. I say all of that to say this. Hamilton has a storied past, and with the former principal or suspended Mrs. Smith, we the alumni saw a path back to those glory days, if you will. So I stand in support of her along with my class. Thank you.
William Jones, Danielle McAdams, and then Thierry. I'm sorry. Danielle McAdams, Thierry Reed, and then Taylor Freeman.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle McAdams. My address is 1367 South Cooper Street. I am here on the behalf of Principal Smith. As y'all may know, we had a peaceful protest January 10th, and we had board members to come up there and we had an agreement. We were supposed to get answers the following Wednesday, but we had, when the snow came, that was like, stop. So y'all had that week for the snow to be out, and also last week. I'm sorry, but y'all promised us answers, and we haven't heard any answers. I've emailed people on the board, haven't got any answers. What I'm asking is for her to be brought back with pay because she has not been proven guilty. So I don't see what reason for her not to be able to come back. And there has been other schools that have done the same thing, but I want to talk about grade flooring, which means you cannot make below a 60, which was not banned until she was suspended. So if the grades were changed, maybe they were changed to be right because kids are coming out with 23s and 17s. That's why he should have been investigated as well as her. Thank you.
Ms. Reed.
Good afternoon. My name is Thierry Reed. My address is 3812 Silver Hills Cove. To add on to what Danielle said, it also happened at Kirby High School, Tresman High School. All these different schools where principals have not been suspended, nothing. And we just want answers to why. Our principal deserves her job. Our principal deserves her job, and also, if they're not being suspended without pay, why should she? Thank you.
Ms. Freeman.
My name is Taylor Freeman. My address is 2292 Sparks. I'm here on behalf of Principal Smith. Secretary Quinn from Tresman High School resigned before it could be terminated or suspended, and that is the same situation as Principal Smith. Only the difference is that Principal Smith didn't leave, but she was suspended without pay. And Principal Smith also have like college students at home that she have to take care of, and she was suspended without pay. So how could she, help? She still got bills to pay. She got kids to take care of. She need money too.
Okay. I'm going to call the next three names: Tequila Rucker, Lisa Jorgenson, and Daryl Taylor.
Good evening. My name is Tequila Rucker. I serve as the president of the United Education Association. Today I come to speak on behalf of teachers and students in the Shelby County School District. I shared an informative post a couple weeks ago on social media, and I tagged several of the board members. I find it very irresponsible and deeply disappointing that rather than seeking to address or resolve the issues that were shared by a concerned teacher, I was personally attacked by Vice Chair, your SCS Vice Chair,
Ma'am,
who took an
Ms.
oath.
Rucker, I'm going to ask if you are going to refrain from using names.
I didn't say a name.
You did.
I didn't say a name.
Okay.
Vice Chair, and that's my time. Vice Chair who took an oath to represent teachers and students. This is clearly a violation of Policy 20, Article 3, Section 3, and I challenge the board to hold her accountable for her actions. I also emailed all of you all regarding the HVAC concerns and OSHA violations throughout the district. I received concerns from several educators today that are afraid of retaliation because district personnel are trying to identify the whistleblowers within the district. This is also a violation of Policy 4039, Employee Whistleblower Protection. Superintendent, you personally told me that if individuals came forward with issues and concerns, they wouldn't be retaliated against. And this is happening, and it needs to stop.
Ms. Jorgenson.
Good evening, Lisa Jorgensen, 743 Beasley, Memphis, Tennessee, also with the United Education Association. I want to thank you, slight diversion here, thank you for your time, attention, and dedication to the public education here in Shelby County Schools District. Especially, I want to thank you for paying our non-salaried education support professionals for their lost income during the inclement weather school closure days. Can we see them with a living wage? Thank you.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes, my name is Daryl Taylor. I live at 5948 Hickory Trace Cove, Memphis, Tennessee. I first want to ask the board to make sure you allow Mr. Holyfield to speak. I don't know if he missed the list.
I'm sorry.
Can you make sure that Mr. Holyfield is able to speak? Is he's on the list? But on behalf of Mrs. Smith, I'm here and asking you also to not only do what's best, but do what's right. I was moved by these students. She said she deserved her job, but they deserve a principal. I hope you get to know us because we're coming back. It's not the last time, but it's just not about Mrs. Smith, but it's a lot of other things in Hamilton we do want you to be a part of. So we're not pointing fingers, we're just asking you to be a part of this, a part of a movement or change. There's a lot of things that need to go on in Memphis and in our community. So we're just asking that you do what's best, what's right, think of the kids first, and then we know what the answer will be. Thank you.
So, Ms. Holyfield, I think I may have missed you. Barbara Holyfield? Okay.
I'm Abra Holyfield, 1961 graduate. Live at 200 Wagner Place, 38103. Several weeks ago, there was an article in the Commercial Appeal that strongly implied that the sharp increase in the graduation rate at Hamilton was due to grade changes. 3 years ago, the Hamilton Alumni Association hired 5 tutors. These are advanced students that tutor the students that need help. We pay them $8 an hour to work up to 10 hours a week. That's a lot of man hours. That's been going on for 3 years. We have gotten periodic reports showing the significant increases in the test scores of those that have been tutored. So it is not true that the increase in the graduation rate was due to someone changing grades. It was due to Mrs. Smith and her staff and the tutorial program that has put in tremendous man hours to see that these students that need help receive the help they deserved. I would certainly hope that you would take that into consideration when you're evaluating whether or not you want to keep Ms. Smith. I think she's doing a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Holyfield. I'm going to call the next 3 names: Keith Williams, Sharonda Thomas, and Thurner Bond.
Good evening, and you do know that we cannot express ourselves in 1 minute, so I'm not sure that you really want to hear us. Let me say this to you, though. I am not a graduate of Hamilton High School. I am a graduate of Melrose High School, but I do believe that no investigation should be solved or completed or termination should be made until there is conclusion to the observation. And there has been no conclusion to any of this. So I think we are ahead of the gun on that. I want to talk about the scorecard. I have received calls from across this district from teachers in schools that this district has declared our low-performing schools. You have created, in my opinion, an unhealthy competition that is going to drive students from one school to another. If we are going to say that we have low-performing schools in this district and we are going to put a banner on them, who's going to attend those schools? You qualify them by saying that the staffs are incompetent. You say that the instruction is low. I think you are sending the wrong message. All schools in this district deserve equal funding and to be treated and codified in the same way. We do not have schools that are beneath schools. They are all equal and they should be treated as such.
Ms. Thomas.
Thompson. That's okay. Sharonda Thompson, 6520 Stage Road, 38134. I stand before you on the legacy as we get ready to celebrate MLK 50. And I think about how does public education align with the vision of Dr. King. Dr. King stated, I think the inconveniences of a segregated education are much greater than the inconveniences of busing students so that they can get an integrated quality education. See, the problem today is that education is not just segregated by race, it's segregated by economics. On Monday, we went live with school choice. So now our students are in a district where when we went live, a child can feel penalized and deprived when their choice is their neighborhood school in a poverty-stricken community that has inadequate resources and facilities, but quality teachers. But those students that live in affluent communities are given those resources and choices. So my question is about the school-based budgeting and how will the capital improvements be a different line item for those principals who will be given the authority to make decisions in their buildings. We just want transparency regarding that to make sure we have equitable resources in those lower income zip codes. Thank you all.
Byron Bond, DeAndre Shaw, and then Charles Scott.
Theron C. Bond, 681 West Rains Road, Memphis, Tennessee, 38109. In an article I read where the SCS Chief of Staff said, for any good leader, they can't lead an organization when they're solving the day-to-day issues. Well, that's where he and others have gotten it so very wrong. Many SCS staff and leadership before me seem to rule with their only views of success being from the mountaintop instead of the valley low and have forgotten the climb between them. Success does not look like a chief of staff using expletives in front of students and parents on school property. Success does not look like any representative of SCX flexing their title, attempting to push an agenda or prove a point while consistently neglecting their true responsibilities. Success does not look like a former dope-dealing rapper, a wrestler indicted for rape and sodomy, and it doesn't always look like an athlete and may not be a kidpreneur. With these billboards, it seems the kids in SCS are being trained to believe that wealth and fame equals success, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You see, success looks like that school teacher who always comes early and stays late, losing out on valuable family time to ensure every child in their classroom has a fair shot and gets the assistance they needed. Success looks like that kid who grew up in a crime-infested neighborhood, losing friends and relatives to gun violence. You see, these are the real inspirations, motivations, and success stories. How about you display those for kids to see?
Thank you.
Now I'm done.
DeAndre Shaw.
Hello, I do not doubt that you and your team spend time trying to figure out
Ms.
how
Shaw,
to
if you
make.
can put the microphone closer to your mouth. Thank you. And your name and address, please. Address.
6678 Red Birch.
Thank you.
I do not doubt that you and your team spend time. First, let me say that this is the very reason why I enrolled my child in private school. However, today, I speak as a concerned citizen on behalf of the teachers and children in the public school system. I find it appalling that we are living in a day and time that elected officials that serve on the Shelby County School Board is comfortable with publicly insulting and criticizing educators for sharing their conditions of our students' learning environment. Not only that, we have a superintendent of level 1 district that has received a raise and extended contract while talking about giving the school to charter schools. On my way in here, a board member approached the young lady, the lady who just came in and helped me. And it was very a concern. So I don't even understand how can a person be a board member.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw.
And that's inappropriate behavior.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw.
And if y'all don't get it together, y'all are failing these kids.
Mr. Scott, Mr. David A.C. Sr., and Al Washington.
I hope you got the packages I passed out ahead of time. Charles Scott, 3689 Huckleberry Street, 38116, speaking on behalf of the United Shelby Council PTA. I probably had about 10 minutes worth of material I won't be able to go over, so I'm just going to hit some highlights, but I hope when you get a chance you'll look at that. I just want to hit on some things, and I want to thank you for all that you've done. Again, I want to let you know on behalf of the PTA, a lot of things that's happening. We traveled to Nashville for the gubernatorial forum on education. We had an opportunity to speak there. The Tennessee PTA was a partner organization. You'll see information in your package as well as that. I also want to personally thank Superintendent Hobson, members of the staff, Kimberly Harris, Tiffany Racy, and Sherbert Smith for their help with our reflections program. We had the opportunity to have a reflection program here. Had the opportunity for the students to actually sit in the positions you are to pretend they were the superintendent and board commissions. Yours is a tough job, and we want them to understand that they can do that as well. Also, you will see attached inviting you to our council's Founders Day program, which will be taking place on the February the 8th. I also sent an email on that, and we hope you'll be able to attend. In addition to that, Westwood High School, as you'll see in your package, was nominated as one of the 15 local units. Again, we appreciate your time and support, and we appreciate the fact that you are listening to the people in your community.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. A.C.? Mr. and Mrs. A.C.?
Yes. Good afternoon. Superintendent Hobson, Board of Education Commissioners, family, friends, and students, of course, and others who are interested in public education. We're here to talk about Africa in April Cultural Awareness Festival 2018. We have been working with the district. We have served the African April Committee internationally and nationally for over 31 years. You have been featured in publications and souvenir booklets without cost. We know it's time to pay up. You put your pictures in there and your positions, but now we want to make sure that you're included in a supportive way, in a participatory way. And I know you want to do that. I've sent packages to your board secretary, to the superintendent. Now we await your answer to be a part of the greatest festival in the world. We're number 6 nationwide. You don't want to be number 2 down. You want to be number 6 nationwide. So in order to be the district we want you to be, Shelby County Schools, you have to rise and fly. We dream and you dream. Let's not turn that dream into a nightmare. Let's join African April, Memphis and Shelby County Schools, students and teachers, and make us the greatest in the world. We don't want to talk that talk, want to walk that walk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the few seconds we have left, I want to thank, I was glad to hear about the arts. The arts in Memphis and the state of Tennessee generate $19 billion, $187 million for Shelby County and Memphis. So thank you for your support, continued support, and all of those. I see Councilwoman Swearengen here. Thank the City Council, County, Tennessee Arts Commission, Overton School, all the schools we're in, mentoring at Westwood, Chickasaw, and etc. Help us to continue our efforts to make Shelby County the greatest school system in the country.
Al Washington, Diane Chapman, and then Elijah Sledge.
I would like to relinquish my time to Christopher Walton.
No, we can't give his time to someone else.
You can't give the time to someone else. Mr. Washington, if you'd like to take your minute to speak.
Yeah, I got an alert on my phone from the commercial appeal regarding Omika Smith. Will that be discussed?
We can discuss it.
Yeah.
So you have 1 minute to with your name and address to make your comments.
4630 Duluth, Memphis, Tennessee. Just recently, I received an alert by the Commercial Appeal as it relates to Monica Smith's future with Shelby County School System. And the headline reads, SCS may retain Hamilton principal as a teacher after grade tampering allegations. So I guess my question to the school board is, will she be a teacher going forward? Will that be discussed? Will we have anything by the time we leave here this evening in terms of what we know? Because it doesn't say yes or no, but it kind of leans one way over the other.
Mr. Washington, we're not able to comment on the papers released, but there is an item on the agenda.
Okay, thanks. That's all I had to say.
Ms. Chapman.
Good evening. My name is Diane Chapman. I live at 348 Stedman Lane. There's no way in the world I'm going to try to beat your clock, because I can't. But what I want to say is, and what I noticed is that out of all the schools that are known for grade changes, I noticed that Monica Smith, a black woman in a poor neighborhood, was suspended. However, over here at White Station High School, the principal who allowed a student to graduate in 2015 without taking English, nothing has happened to him. What is the difference? She's a black woman in a poor neighborhood. He's a white man in an affluent neighborhood. Also, they need to stop giving you raises, and y'all need to get rid of all these people that are voting to give him raises and bonus. You need to go. Time's up. Hashtag time's up for you, and I even got a hashtag me too for you. Okay? If you don't do anything about this, I'm going hashtag me too. Don't put your hand on me.
Okay.
Mr. Sledge.
Yes, ma'am. Elijah Sledge, 2871 Vista View, Memphis, Tennessee, 38127. And my message today is the message that I always have. And what I have to say for you all today is to please keep the light on. And what I mean by that is that anyone that is part of our educational system is the light of this city and the salt of this land. Now, salt is nothing more than a simple ingredient, but salt is a preserver, and we should work hard to preserve all that is good in our educational system. And over time, light has evolved from candles and oil lamps, which was good at that time for anyone to move forward in the dark. Now we have light bulbs for many different situations. So we must have programs that showcase and find specific individuals' talents and needs, like a spotlight. We must also keep programs in school environments that put constant focus on the collective growth of all our children, no matter what level that we get them on, faithful, like that 60 watt all day, every day. And finally, we must have a form of education that will allow all students to see ahead, no matter what zip code or income bracket, allow them to see ahead 360 degrees, allow them to see so far ahead into their future that hardships and difficulties seem as learning blocks and footstools.
Thank you, Mr.
This is the floodlight education. Please keep the light on.
Thank you. That's it. That would end our public comments. Yes. Yes. So, board members, I apologize, but we did miss one item for the agenda, and if there is no objection, we'd like to add that item. It is for the board strategic school funds in the amount of $35,000, which is allocated from $25,000 allocated from Mr. Billy Orville. So if there are no objections, I'd like to add that as part of the strategic school funds allocation resolution. Do I need just to- Is there no objection? If there's no objection, the item will be added as 12.4. This is a joint item by Mr. Orgel and Ms. Jones. Okay, we're going to move forward. Okay. So we're now on the approval of minutes of the previous meeting. The question is now on the approval of the minutes. There are two sets of minutes, I think, that we're approving. For approval of the December 5th special call meeting, I do want to notate that there is an attachment that has been added to that particular agenda item. It is the approval of the minutes for November 28th and the approval of the minutes for December 3rd, 2017, also special call. I'm sorry, that is where the attachment is located. There is now a document uploaded for that. I need a motion to adopt the minutes. Are you moving?
Yeah.
So a motion by Mr. McCormick and a second by Ms. Love. Did you have a comment, Mr. Caldwell?
Well, I was going to give you the motion, but I do have a question. So we're doing December 5th, the business meeting, November 28th, the work session, and then the 13th, the special call meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks. That's all.
Yes, all three of those sets of minutes. We're ready for a vote.
Board Chair, the work session should be January.
I'm sorry?
January 23rd, last week, not November 28th. There's an error on the agenda.
It's it says November 28th, but you're saying it's
It should be January 23rd, 2018.
Okay, so I'm gonna clarify for the record. It's the approval of the minutes for December 5th, the approval of the minutes for the special call on December 13th, and the approval of the minutes for the January 13th.
23rd.
January 23rd special business meeting. Yes? Work session?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I get a motion? Mr. McCormick, in a second? Second, Mr. Caldwell. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel. Aye. Board Member Woods. Board Member Love. Board Member McCormick. Aye. Board Member Jones.
Aye.
Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 7 ayes.
That motion passes. And we're going to move to committee reports. I just want to thank all of the board members who had an opportunity to go out to the winter sessions again. We have rescheduled some of those winter workshops. Please look on the website, and we also will send something out to parents. There should be a robocall that will go out. I also want to commend the district on our process for the optional schools and choice transfers. We had a lot of parents that came out both to libraries, to our school sites, and here at the district, and I want to commend the district on the work they did in creating a new process. There are no other comments from my report. I'd like to move to Academic Performance Committee report. Ms. Bibbs, academic performance.
Sorry, thank you. Talking to my next door neighbor. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Superintendent. Let me give a general report on Academic Performance Committee. We've, over the past month and a half, have discussed a CT update, and the CTE department will bring another presentation to the full board in the February work session. We also have had an update on ESSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, and the implications that we'll have on schools. This will be an ongoing conversation because as we talk about and think about what ESSA looks like for Shelby County schools, we have thought about it in a way of what investments can we add to the budget that will be best supportive schools. The department that's doing performance framework scorecard, they came in and told us about the rollout, and of course that rolled out on the end of last week, as well as we had a presentation on the charter authorization process, which has been updated a bit, and as well as the charter renewal process for 4 schools that will be up for renewal this year. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. We're now to Audit, Budget, and Finance Committee report.
Yes, had a great discussion with Chief Patman and with Chief Johnson and I believe Mark Edinburgh. Talked first about policies and things we can do. We talked about the audit coming up and just the things, they're doing some remarkable things to put, to hold people accountable. And I think you'll really be impressed when you see that. And they're not as satisfied with just that. They have the second phase. So I was really encouraged about that. Then later had a meeting with Chief Johnson and Commissioner Eddie Jones about the budget process. And I think we had some fruitful discussions. And we plan I think you might have seen a request for a 2-hour budget retreat on Friday. And we hope to do an executive overview. I believe that date's right, isn't it? Monday? I'm sorry, Monday. All right. Excuse me, Lynn. I saw Lynn look like he had a headache. But what we hope to do there is have an executive summary that lays out a lot of aspects of the budget so we can have a better understanding of how the cuts or the increases we make are going to affect the different departments and the cost of programs and a lot of other things that I think will be helpful to us decisions. And if there are things you'd like to see there, I'd request that all board members, send emails to the board office to Aisha, and we can probably accommodate that.
So, Mr. Caldwell, is there an agenda that they can see beforehand so that if there's anything they want to add to that agenda?
Yeah, we just kind of worked off a rough draft, but I will get that to you. I think that's important. That's a good idea.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
So, Community Needs and Facilities Committee report, Mr. Orgel.
So we had a facilities meeting, I think it was last Monday, and many of the items are on the agenda, so I think we're going to discuss it. The main items where we talked about the bear lease out at the Central Nutrition Center. I think we're discussing that. We had a demolition project. I think that was briefly discussed. We've got a lease with Perea that we also discussed, and then we also discussed the potential acquisition of the Bear building out there next to the Central Nutrition, and that moved forward. And I guess a lot of that got reported. So, if there are any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you. Community Outreach and Engagement report, Ms. Love.
Yes, ma'am. We had a meeting on January the 9th, and we did discuss the Parent Ambassadors program. We also discussed our Parent Institute program. One of the things that we did discuss, which I'm very proud that the superintendent has allowed us to do, is this year we will have 20 schools who will participate in the Student Storm the Hill, and this is a partnership with the Tennessee PTSA Association. These students will not only have the opportunity to go on a field trip, but they'll also be able to go to the state and talk to some of our representatives and some of our senators as it relates to how laws are made and how bills are passed. I do want to acknowledge, I know that Ms. Cox is here. She's a parent. I do want to acknowledge her for all the help that she has done. And also if Mr. Everest, Mr. Charles, Mr. Everett, I'm sorry. I want to acknowledge you for your help, and also Mr. Avant in parent and community engagement. He's been very instrumental in this, and this will be a great opportunity for our children. I also want to let you guys know that the parent engagement and community engagement department, they are back together. So we look forward to Dr. Ray coming before us in a committee meeting, hopefully in February or March. Oh, you're saying April? Okay, in April. So that means he's going to have an excellent plan for us and let us know how he's going to engage our parents and our community. And Chair, while I'm talking, I would also ask if we could put the Legislative Advocacy Committee report at the end. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Evaluation Committee report. Internal Board Operations Committee report.
Thank you, Chair. So over the past month, we've had discussions around our contract process and really trying to come up with a framework of what's the best timing to bring contracts around. I think, and again, I'm saying these are all discussions, nothing that will be definitive about our incoming policy, but we're putting it out there for board and staff members to be prepared in how we handle processes. We also talked about the procurement, a vendor appeal process, to have something stated so that the general public and everyone knows how to be able to, if something happens, they can actually do a formal appeal process. Another topic was our social media policy regarding employees as well as appropriate staff interactions. And those two topics are something that will be ongoing, and we're figuring out where to place them, whether it be in the handbook or where there are some other things we need to address that's currently already in policy. And of course, grade floors is a constant conversation, and we'll have that again next month as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Procurement Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a rescheduled meeting today at 4, and there were 5 items on the agenda. One was the decision analytics and information system. We're pretty much on track with that. The main thing that the board members stressed was that there be an aggressive and early timeline implemented for any training that needed to be done with school-based staff. We wanted to make sure that any new system, the staff had an opportunity to train on that before school starts, before they're having to deal with the students. And Mr. Leon assured us that he would make sure that that timeline worked for those purposes. We discussed the ERP update. Mr. Williams gave us an update on that. We're a little behind, but there were some staff changes that caused that. New individuals should be in place shortly, and hopefully we'll be able to make up some of that time. But basically, the project is moving forward in a positive manner. We had a presentation on asset management, and as you all know, there was some discrepancies in terms of our assets and what percentage could be identified and what may be errors. The staff has gone back, and of those schools or entities that did not make reports, those schools have been inventoried, and so they're moving forward to make sure that we have a comprehensive plan to do an overall district asset management, and new and purchase items are already on that track. So I think that we're making grounds in terms of knowing what we have and where it is at any point in time. Hopefully that's the goal. We also had a update on our WMBE program and the disparity study, and I think what we're looking at just getting input. There is an RFP that needs to take place, and as a result of that, there will probably be a few positions that will be added. We're also partnering with the city and other consortium members to ensure that as we move forward with implementing the provisions of this study, that we make sure that we've taken everything that we can possibly take into account to ensure that we have satisfied our goals that were outlined in terms of minority and women and local business participation. So we're on track to do that. And then we had a brief update on the Council of Great City Schools report in terms of the items that they made suggestions that we really look at, and I think there were only a few items. The report revealed that most of the items that they found deficient or in need of change have been addressed or are in the process of being addressed, and there were 4 or 5 items that we're just not ready to go live on and really handle at this point, because we need to get some other things in place, and one of them being this information system. And once we do that, then we'll be able to move forward on that. And I think the last thing was the desire to how we deal with the P cards and any type of evaluation system. And so those are on hold right now, but we have some good ideas. And Mr. His name is he had some good ideas about how we could go about doing that. So we're good. That's my report. Madam Chair, I would like to just make one statement. I was probably not aware when you made your report, but I wanted to let the board members know that Saturday I was invited by Tennessee Cans. There is a group of students And this is a pilot program. They're out of Bridges, and they invited me, about 10 students from various schools, and they wanted to ask questions about the board and what we do. Funding, they did have a number of questions about the heating and air conditioning, but they really had some pointed and in-depth questions coming from a place of knowledge about funding and how that works, and they had a real concern about equity, and because of the things they've seen in their schools, and they wanted to make sure that all children were getting the same type of opportunities. And so I wanted to applaud Ms. Sharonda Richardson for inviting me, and I told her to invite other board members next time. So it was really enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to move, if we're not ready yet for the legislative report, there's some documents that need to be shared with the board. So I'm going to move to superintendent's report, general counsel's report, and then we'll come back to the legislative committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, just really quickly, just want to address a couple issues. We had a principals meeting today, and there was I've spoken with a lot of principals. This came up, met with some teachers, and this came up. There was an article, I guess a headline more than anything, a few weeks ago, that suggested that the Shelby County Schools, and me specifically, was, I don't know, thinking of a strategy of giving away all our schools as charter schools is what I heard. I think about 40 principals called me, about 45 teachers called me, and they said, Dorsey, the word is that we're about to give 40 to 50 schools away to charter schools. And I just want to be crystal clear that I'm not pro-charter, I'm not anti-charter, I am pro-good schools. Having said that, you know, my obligation is always to promote and do everything I can to advance the Shelby County schools, and that includes making sure that we have many, many great schools. So the context of that article, and again, I know people like to be sensational with headlines, the context of how that even came up, board, just so you know. Met with the commissioner a few weeks ago, and she essentially said there were probably 3 or 4 schools that the ASD may consider taking over after the list comes out. And my response was that, well, the ASD, the schools that have been in the ASD over the years, they seem to be going backwards, and that it's hard for me to even fathom that the ASD would want to take over schools given the state of the schools that they're running now. And so the question was posed to me. She said, well, Superintendent, an option may be to, in lieu of us turning over schools to the ASD, the board may be able to authorize charters. Have you had a conversation about that? So my response, and this is really the board and public so people understand my response is that, you know, we're going to always lean in favor of good schools, and if there's a chance, I think the track record is clear. The schools that we have authorized, the charter schools of almost 70, have outperformed the charter schools that the ASD has authorized. So given a choice between us being the authorizing agent and holding schools accountable and the ASD, I would always recommend to the school board that we be the authorizer. So I just want to put that to bed and just be clear. You know, but it also just kind of highlights the constant spirit of divide and conquer, right? We've got a lot of kids with a lot of needs who are in a lot of different struggling situations. And the more we argue and fight about things that really don't matter and don't take a position of what's best for kids, the further we're going to go back. So I hope that the discussion shifts to how do we make sure that every school, regardless of zip code, is a great school. And I think that is the spirit with which the headline grew out of. Also want to say, I know there's a lot of discussion around the school performance framework. And the purpose of the school performance framework is not to ding a school, it's not to call a school out. It is twofold. A, it is to provide objective data on all of our schools and compare our schools to each other. But more importantly, I think it gives the Shelby County schools an opportunity for each school to tell its own story. Whether you know it or not, when the state comes out with its report cards, there are going to be a lot of F's and D's on many of our schools. And there's too much hard work that's going on in these schools for schools to be simply defined by F or D. Just because you may be and the public knows this, but the scorecard, or the scoreboard as it were, is measured by how kids do on tests. And with our system, it doesn't make a difference whether you're a rich kid in Brentwood, Tennessee, or a very poor kid in inner city Memphis. You are expected to have the same outcomes on tests. So if it's all measured by a test, and we know some of the challenges that some of our students face, we think it's important to give other objective factors so parents can determine, are there other areas or are there other issues that we can focus on that may be some indicia that this school is moving in the right direction. So I just want to be clear about that, and I know there are a lot of principals who were concerned, different people concerned, because immediately I think people move towards the negative, and are you trying to get rid of me? Are you going to use this to fire me? That's not what it's about. It's about being transparent about school data. It's about giving schools an opportunity to tell their story and build on the things that are going well. So just wanted to call those two things out. And then finally, board members, I do want to give a huge, huge shout out to Dr. Ray, Linda Scalar, Angela Hargrave, and all the team that worked to revamp the optional schools process. What we knew is for years, people would camp out outside, and it created some inequity because some people who work 2-3 jobs can't get here to camp out. And I think this board was very specific and pushed for a number of years to make sure that the process was revamped. So it was all online, and I think by half the day, we had processed more optional transfers on Tuesday, including my rising sixth grader, than we did the first full day last year. So just want to give them a huge kudos. Absolutely too. And there were also, and I don't have them in front of me, but we have, there was a great article that I just want to acknowledge some of the hard work that we now in Shelby County have a much lower percentage of schools that are on the priority list. We started off on this work 5 years ago. We probably had, of the 80 or so schools, I think almost 7 of them were in Shelby County. And I think there's been a lot of great work that goes on in the schools. It doesn't necessarily show up immediately. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but I think it's huge work. It's a huge testament to the teachers, to the school leaders, to the communities, that we are moving. The pace is slower than we like for it to be, but it's moving. And then finally, Madam Chair, just want to applaud the passion for the Hamilton alumni. I know this is a very passionate subject for them. I think I've met with the alumni about 2 or 3 times. They've met with either Chief of Staff or Dr. Ray several times. We went out to Hamilton when the students had a protest. So, we don't always agree, but I just do want to acknowledge their advocacy and applaud them. And I also ask them and challenge them, because I know they will, because they've been doing it the whole time, but also grab somebody else, because I know you guys are working really hard, and get other people to be motivated and show that same passion to continue to support the students who are at Hamilton. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the legislative agenda, and then we'll committee report, and then we'll move to the general counsel's report since that is available. Ms. Love.
Thank you, Chair. For our legislative committee reports, on Monday, December the 18th, the Shelby County Board of Education was invited to the Pink Palace by our state representatives, where they asked of us to present our legislative agenda. And also on January the 11th, we were invited to the Civil Rights Museum, where we met with other state representatives, senators, and Shelby County commissioners, and some of our city council representatives. Board Member Woods wanted to make sure that I made you guys aware that on last night, Governor Haslam, he did give his State of the Union or State of the State address. And we know that he did state that he was going to provide a teacher pay increase. But we want to let the listening public know that although the governor has stated that he will provide a teacher increase, that number is based on BEP pay average. So if that increase does come, the district would have to decide if they would put additional funds in that. So just because the governor has stated that he is going to send a certain amount of money does not necessarily mean that teachers will receive that amount. And Chair, I have our Shelby County Schools Board of Education 2018 legislative agenda. Am I to read this into the record, being that all board members? Okay. Okay. So just a couple of our big ones. We are still requesting that the state of Tennessee fully fund the BEP. As the public knows, we're in the process of suing the state of Tennessee for that. We've also requested that any mandates they send down, they fully fund. As everybody knows, we are strongly opposed to vouchers. And I'm happy to hear that Senator Kelsey did not bring that back up. As it relates to our teachers, we are requiring that the General Assembly allows flexibility for our hiring teachers. We're also asking the General Assembly to protect the use of instructional time by restricting educators from having to testify as witnesses in civil domestic disputes absent a threshold showing of necessity. We're also asking the General Assembly to update and eliminate existing laws that preclude educators holding teachers licensed in other states from ever being licensed to teach in Tennessee. Chair, that is about it. One more thing, I'm sorry. We're asking the General Assembly to establish a priority school selection timeline and to also limit the frequency of selecting schools from the priority list. And that is all that I have.
Okay. Mr. Caldwell.
So I also noticed the article, and I think the title was "The Governor Wants Tennessee to Lead," and I can't remember what the other thing was, but education. And so I would ask the governor to lead in fully funding the schools in this state. And I would ask him that, unlike last year when they went around the state telling everybody they were giving $600 million to the state, and we have 25% of the children, and Chief Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we saw more than a $6 to $9 million increase in BEP funding. So if you want to get real about the problems and you want to quit spending money on highways and then also reducing taxes when you have a real problem with public education in our state, then let's really work on it.
If there are no further comments from any of our board members, we will move on, and this will be sent to our state representatives.
Did the board vote on it? Did the board vote to adopt the agenda?
So can we have a motion? Yes, we we need a motion to adopt the 2018 legislative agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Caldwell. Can I second?
I second.
Ms. Jones. Can I get a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell.
We're doing a roll call. Oh, you had a comment?
Well, don't, we offer an amendment, we offer a motion, and then second, and then we have a discussion.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your light for your discussion.
I apologize.
Mr.
No,
Caldwell.
I didn't put my light on, I was waiting, but waited too long. I just presume that we can add to this agenda as we go along, as things surface, especially if, after my recent remarks, they try to pass something to get rid of me.
Yes, I think Ms. Love and Mr. Woods have been very flexible about hearing, and if there's any update that needs to be made, we'll just make sure to send those back to board members. But we do plan to present and advocate for this agenda when we do Day on the Hill, February 13th. Ms. Jones? No? Okay. So can I get a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel.
Aye.
Board Member Woods. Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick.
Aye.
Board Member Jones.
Aye.
Board Member Bibbs.
Aye.
Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
That motion passes. We've now adopted our legislative agenda. We're going to move to the General Counsel's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The process in which I'm about to present to the board is commonly referred to as due process. It is the first step in a process that affords professional employees statutory rights and protections. When charges are made to the Board of Education against a teacher, charging the teacher with offenses that would justify, or charging the educator with offenses that will justify the dismissal of the educator, the charges shall be made in writing, specifically stating the offenses that are charged, and shall be signed by the party or parties making the charge. If, in the opinion of the board, the charges are of such a nature as to warrant the dismissal of the educator, the director of schools shall give the educator a written notice of his decision, together with a copy of the charges and a copy of the form, which will be provided by the Commissioner of Education, advising the educator as to the educator's legal duties, rights, and recourses. At this time, I will summarize the charges that have been requested by the superintendent, keeping in mind, as I have indicated, that this is the first step in a process, and the superintendent has the burden of proof of establishing the charges before a neutral judge if a hearing is requested by the professional educator. Superintendent of Shelby County Schools, pursuant to TCA 49-511, hereby notify you, Monica Smith, a tenured teacher of Shelby County Schools, that you will be charged with the following offenses, which include violation of SCBE policies that would justify a 20-day suspension from employment from Shelby County Schools and a demotion from a principal position to a teaching position. Description of charges: conduct unbecoming to a member of the teaching or education profession as defined in TCA 49-501. B, neglect of duty as defined in TCA 49-501. Applicable board policies: policy number 4002, staff ethics; policy number 5015, grading system for grades 6 to 12. Explanation of actions in support of the charges. Understanding, members of the board, this is just a summary and not all of the evidence. A, neglect of duty and conduct unbecoming to a member of the teaching profession. Tennessee Code annotated 49-2303, subsection B, imposes upon principals in relevant part the duty to supervise the operation and management of the personnel and facilities of the school or schools of which the principal is principal as the local Board of Education determines. The statute also imposes upon principals the duty to observe all rules and regulations relative to the operation of public schools as established by law and is contained in the rules, regulations, and minimum standards of the State Board of Education. SCBE policy number 5015 states that principals are responsible for ensuring that grades and other reporting categories for student progress are documented accurately. Shortly after the conclusion of 2016-17 school year, report card grades for students enrolled at Hamilton High School were changed in SCMS from failing grade to a passing grade without the knowledge and or justification of the course's assigned teacher, using Principal Monica Smith's SMS login credentials. These actions evidence a disregard of SCBE policy number 4002. As a principal, Ms. Smith had full administrative rights to SMS. Those rights included the ability to modify students' report card grades and SMS. During the 2016-17 school year, Ms. Smith neglected her duties and responsibilities when she allowed an employee lacking her level of authorization to use her login credentials to access the system in order to make unjustified report card changes, and when she failed to monitor and assure the proper recording of student report card grades. Ms. Smith acknowledged that there was no legitimate reason for the grade changes and further admitted that she violated SCS policy by providing her computer access password to individuals who were not authorized to have such access. Ms. Smith grossly failed to perform the duties outlined under state law and the responsibilities delineated in SCBE policy number 5015 that could reasonably be expected of one serving in the capacity of an educator and high school principal. This is evidenced by Mrs. Smith's failure to ensure against the awarding of academic credit to students for a purpose not directly related to the student's actual academic performance. Based on the foregoing charges individually and or collectively, I recommend a 20-day suspension and demotion of Monica Smith from her employment with Shelby County Schools. Again, members of the board, this is the initial step in the process, and your job now is to judge whether, if these charges are true, they would justify the discipline requested by the suspension. If you believe that these charges are in order, then a motion to approve the charges is required.
Is there a motion? We need a motion to discuss. Ms.
Motion.
Jones?
Yes.
So moved.
Right.
Is there a second? Mr. Orgel? So now we have an opportunity for discussion. Mr. Caldwell?
So I have a couple of questions. I noticed there's a footnote 1 that said this explanation of actions describes the actions of the tenured teacher which would warrant dismissal and is not intended to be an exhaustive list. So we're not asking for dismissal. Is that is just a standard thing you put on there? That's my. So it doesn't reflect that. Okay, right. And then secondly, to what you alluded to before, if we vote for this, we're actually giving the public a chance and Mrs. Smith a chance to have due process in public and to dispute the charges.
So I'm going to allow General Counsel to answer your question.
I have two questions going at once, I'm sorry.
Okay, so my understanding from what you said earlier and the previous things that if we vote for this, what we're doing is just starting the process so she'll have public due process where she can rebut the charges against her in public, and we will present whatever evidence there is to present, so that then we can weigh what the final decision is. Is that correct?
Yes, in essence, that is correct. If she disputes these charges, she can request a hearing before a hearing officer, a disinterested hearing officer, who will make a decision. The hearing could be in public or private in the discretion of the hearing officer. After that hearing concludes, if either side is unsatisfied with the results, either the administration or the employee, they have a right to appeal back to the Board of Education, and the board will hear the case again.
Right. Didn't include the interim step before the final. Okay.
Are there any other comments? Ms. Bibbs?
Because we couldn't hear anything on this side, I just need that to be repeated and clear so that the listening audience as well as this side of the room can understand what was stated.
Are you saying the General
I'm
Counsel?
saying please speak into the microphone clearly and make it so that everyone can hear what you're saying, and so that the public as well as this side can understand what you're saying.
Sure, thank you, Madam.
Repeat his question and then state your answer.
I will allow him to repeat his question, and he may be more efficient at it.
Okay, I'm sorry for not talking in the mic. Is this good enough? All right, so the first question was just to define what that footnote 1 meant, and that it said the explanation of actions describes the actions of the tenured teacher which would warrant dismissal and is not intended to be an exhaustive list of details in support of the charges made herein. So I wanted clarification that is just a standard footnote that they put in there. And it's not, since we're not talking about a dismissal, is that what, am I correct in my assumption?
Yeah, no, there's no request for dismissal in this charge letter.
Okay, then secondly, that by voting for this, what we are doing is setting a process in motion, a due process in motion for her to rebut charges, and eventually, if she wants to continue, then have a public a process here where the board gets to hear the complaints and her rebuttals, and then we have the final decision that we would make about what we assess from all that information.
Yes, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that upon receipt of this letter, Ms. Smith has 30 days to request a hearing. If she requests a hearing, a disinterested hearing officer is appointed to hear the evidence and make findings of fact and conclusions of law. If either side is dissatisfied with that decision, either the administration or Ms. Smith, they have a right to appeal decision to the Board of Education, and the board will hear it again at that point after the independent hearing officer has made his or her decision. So the board will get it back.
Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've read the recommendation, I guess the charges, which is a recommendation, is it not, before the board? Is that where we are?
Yes, the charges is essentially a request from the superintendent to the board to authorize the issuing of these charges. Again, the board's decision is to review the charges and make a determination that, not whether they're true at this point, but essentially whether the facts allege a violation that would warrant the discipline that's being requested.
So based on the status of this process, Mr. Superintendent, I can support your request to start this process. I think based on the comments from all the individuals who signed up tonight, there are a lot of strong feelings on one side or the other. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of silos, and I think this process, if Ms. Smith decides to avail herself of it, will allow her an opportunity, which is what I'm hearing from the audience, that due process be allowed. Of course, that choice is hers. This process would open it up and allow her to make that choice, which only she should make. And so because this will start that process, and because of really, there are a lot of allegations out there. I think there have been some admissions on different individuals' part, but none of it has been clearly stated in one forum at one time, so it can all be sorted out. So because I want her to have that opportunity, because I think this is a fair recommendation, then I will support it, Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. Orgel.
Yeah, I don't want to be repetitive, but I believe in giving people their day in court, and I think, not being an attorney or judge or anything, but I believe in giving people their day in court, and that's not a public opinion thing, because we have access to the information and talk about it, but I think that if there's a defensible position, that I think that Ms. Smith should be able to provide that. And in today's day, people get accused of things all the time, and they don't have a lot of, if it's done in the media, they don't have time to defend themselves. So I applaud you and the board for putting this together, the superintendent, and letting her have her opportunity to speak if she chooses to, and also to, if there were mistakes made, that she has an opportunity to go back and do something else within our system and work her way back into a position. So I like the process.
Mr. Caldwell, it's your second time speaking.
Thank you. I'll be brief. So just what happens to her current status until we get this back to us?
She will be reassigned to a teaching position. So the real issue is the back pay. I mean, so she's been suspended. The recommendation is 20 days. I think she's been out 34 days, so she'll get back pay for those 14 days. And then if she wins her hearing, then she would get the full back pay.
If there are no other comments, we're going to do a roll call vote.
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel. Aye. Board Member Woods. Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick.
Aye.
Board Member Jones.
Aye.
Board Member Bibbs.
Aye.
Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
That motion passes. Moving forward to unfinished business. This will be the second reading of proposed policies, and I'm going to read those for the record. 3004, revised, student transportation services, revised. 3005, school bus safety program, repeal. 4047, teacher effect data, revised. 5005, advanced courses, revised. 5006, awaiting of credits, revised. 5007, online courses and online course recovery, revised. Grading system of pre-K grades, grading system from grades pre-K through 5, revised. 5015, grading system for grades 6 through 12, revised. 6002, school admissions, revised. 6009, attendance zone policy, revised. 6014, attendance and excuses, revised. 6022, student conduct, revised. 6032, grade classification for school students, revised. 6034, participation in commencement exercises, revised. 6051, interscholastic athletics, revised. And then I just want to notate for the record that the administrative rules and regulations are a point of information, and that's 5004, graduation requirements, and 6036, valedictorian and salutatorian. I need a motion to adopt these policies.
Motion. Sure,
I second.
whatever you need me to do.
I second.
Motion by Ms. Love and a second by Ms. Jones. Can I get a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
Those policies are adopted. We're going to now move on to, we will need vote for approval for the consent agenda. We do have a few action items that have been added. I want to make sure to notate for the record that action items will be 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, and 12.4, and we will go through them individually, but I do need a motion for approval of the consent agenda. Mr. Orgel?
I also like 11.13 to be an action item, because we made an adjustment to the agenda, so we just have to.
Okay, we'll add 11.3 to the action.
1.3, I think, 11.13. Is that the right one?
11.13.
11.13.
Okay.
So is 11.8, has it already, is it on the consent agenda or?
11.8 is on the consent agenda. Would you like it?
Removed.
So we have, is this a revised item, Mr.? Okay, so we're going to pull 11.8 for consent, for the action.
That becomes 12.5.
Okay. Any other items? Mr. Caldwell?
Yeah, I would like, I have a couple more questions about Chief 3000, 11.3.
11.
3.
Thank you. Any other? So we're going to approve the consent agenda moving 11.3, 11.13, and 11.8. Is that correct?
That's it.
Okay, can I get a a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
The consent agenda is approved. We're going to move to request for action. Number 12.1 is Capelville Property Land Purchase Agreement. There's no question. I just move forward.
This was just item before. Have you adopted the agenda now?
So let me go through and we're gonna, I'm sorry, our parliamentarian has reminded me that I do need to announce what's the items for the consent agenda. 11.1, 11.2 is Medicaid disbursement in the amount of $204,500. 11.3, Shelby County, remove that one, sorry. 11.4, canned poached fruit and vegetable items in the amount of $1.429, $352.32. 11.5, fresh fruit and vegetables direct to school sites is $1,228,781. 11.6, commercial food items in the amount of $777,666. 11.7, inventory audit and reconciliation of capital and trackable asset services in the amount of $385,000. And that's the last 11 one. And 11.9 is demolition project Fairley Elementary School in the amount of $157,332. 11.10, award for education funding in the amount of $549,800. 11.11, first quarter financial statements. 11.12, the 2018 budget amendment. And those are all the items for the consent agenda. Okay, now moving on to action items. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Phelan.
Sure.
For 12.1.
Yes, 12.1 is regarding the Capelville, sale of Capelville property. We talked about this item in the last ad hoc facility meeting, and the contract wasn't signed by the buyer prior to the work session. So the process is to pull it for the action list and pull it off the consent agenda. The contract has since been signed by the buyer and reflects the elements that we discussed in the ad hoc facility meeting.
So I need a motion, and then we can.
I just have a report of information. 12.1 is okay. All right, not capable. It's 12. You got to get off of there and then get back on. 12.1 is what she's talking about there.
Yes.
Okay. I thought I heard somebody say capable. All right, my bad. I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Caldwell. Can I get a second, Ms. Love? Can I get a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Caldwell, I apologize. You had a discussion item?
No.
Okay. We're going to monitor the lights a little better. Roll call vote.
Board Member Caldwell?
Aye.
Board Member Orgel? Board Member Love?
Aye.
Board Member McCormick? Board Member Jones? Board Member Bibbs? Board Member Cornell? Board Chair Avant?
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
That motion passes. 12.2, Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program. This is just a point of clarification, Ms. Phelan.
Yes, so in the 123 work session, we talked about this item, and our explanation was unclear, frankly, in regards to why we were bringing an item for approval that was past date. So I sent out an answer to their question to the board office and board members, and what had happened was we originally had an award in June for this program that was under $100,000. It went through procurement but didn't have to come to the board for approval, and that amount was based on enrollment from schools in the program. And then we had a surge in enrollment, and it was higher than was expected. And at that point, the team should have realized that we exceeded the $100,000 limit and brought the item to the board for approval, because with the new enrollment and participation, it took the total amount to almost $160,000. So at that point, we should have brought it to the board. By the time the team reconciled the total amount, we had missed the timing for the December 5th board meeting, and so therefore brought it to the work session this past week. And so there's several items that have been put in place as a result of this, including training on the board approval process timing, and then also the reconciliation of invoices and purchase orders. And we've also ordered we planned our menus through the end of the year so we can land on exactly how much fruit that we would need for the rest of the year so it wouldn't happen again. So I've provided that additional detail because our explanation wasn't clear prior.
Can I get a motion?
A motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Caldwell, second by Ms. Jones. Seeing no lights, we'll do a roll call vote.
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel. Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
That motion passes. We're going to move to 12.3, the Bayer property. This is authority to negotiate. Mr. Superintendent, is there anything?
Ms. Phelan.
Yes, so we discussed the Bear Building in the ad hoc meeting on the 22nd, and during that discussion, we talked through where we were in our due diligence, and we also identified items that still had to be completed within due diligence, things like title search and survey and things like that, and also the completion of environmental phase 2. And in that dialogue, you know, the board had shared, you know, proceed with completing the due diligence, and then also we talked about the administration superintendent getting the authority to negotiate a PSA, and the direction was to bring that to the floor for a vote. So the item, the action item here is, would you like me to read it? Do I need to read it, or would you like me to read it?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, it is recommended that the Shelby County Board of Education approves the purchase of the Bear Healthcare LLC property composed of 43 acres of property located at 3030 Jackson Avenue for purchase by the district, and grants the superintendent and his designees the authority to negotiate the terms and conditions of a purchase and sale agreement with Bear Healthcare LLC on terms customary for a transaction of this type, in an amount not to exceed $6.6 million. The purchase and sale agreement shall be subject to of the Shelby County Board of Education prior to closing. So in the discussion, no, their request was to continue our due diligence, and then the authority to negotiate the PSA and bring that material back to the board for discussion and approval at that point.
Yeah, I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Can I get a motion by Mr. Caldwell, second by Ms. Bibbs? Can I get a roll call vote? I'm sorry. Seeing no lights, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel.
Aye.
Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 6 ayes.
That motion passes. We're moving on now to 12.4, which is
This is old 1113. This is buildings.
so this is the board strategic reallocation, and this is for Craigmont High School, an amount of $25,000. This is co-sponsored by Mr. Orgel and Ms. Jones. Mr. Orgel?
This was in our allocation we get as board members, and so in the great spirit of cooperation, Ms. Jones and I worked together on this, and it's to help Craigmont with the Boys and Girls Club that they have there, and funding that. And I think some other board members have Boys and Girls Clubs that are in their district that are co-located at some of our schools, and Ms. Jones and I worked. She asked, because I had allocation left, if we could do this, and so I readily agreed, because my district borders Ms. Jones' district, and a lot of our students, I have a lot of students that attend Craigmont and TED programs there, and this is the second time we've worked together. We did it at Grahamwood too, when we worked together for some capital funds, because I have a lot of students that attend her wonderful school, Grahamwood. So, in my 6 years being on the board, I always enjoy working with Teresa. We got on the board together at the same time, and it's great that we can work across district lines, not party lines, but district lines. And so I'm happy to support this and support Ms. Jones' request to further help the students in her district at Craigmont.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know the students of Craigmont will too, and I as a board member do too. We do work well together.
Can I?
And of course, board member Loves works even harder.
You must want some
She's
more
a
money.
supporter of
You want some-
Craigmont as well.
And Caldwell too. He's coughing over there.
So I just want to make sure that we are clear that the motion would be an amendment to the strategic funds allocation, and we're amending that particular item to add an additional $25,000 for Craigmont High Schools, sponsored by Mr. Orgel and Ms. Jones.
Yeah.
Ms. Jones
Yes.
and Mr. Orgel.
Yes.
Okay.
So the motion is to amend
The mo-
resolution by adding. Okay.
Just restate it for the record, Mr. Orgel, that the motion is to amend by adding.
The motion is to amend by adding a $25,000 allocation to Craigmont High School.
Okay, and a second by Ms. Jones, and so if we could get a roll call vote.
Board Member Caldwell.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, which number are we on?
So we're still on the strategic allocation.
Okay.
And this is a vote to amend the resolution.
Yes.
And then do we do a roll call vote of the?
Yes.
So let's just do a roll call vote to amend the resolution, if I could get a roll call.
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel.
Aye.
Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
So we have approved the amendment of the resolution. Could I get a motion to approve the resolution as amended? Ms. Love moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
I had a second by Ms. Jones. Maybe that's from before. Can I get a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell. Board Member Orgel. Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick.
Aye.
Board Member Jones.
Aye.
Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
The resolution passes. So just to clarify for board members, I think when we have pulled consent agenda items, the board office has not been able to load them as quickly as we have, and so we have put them in order. We will reconcile each item for the consent agenda with the listening public, but this is based on how we have pulled those items off of the agenda is the order in which we're going. Okay, so we're now on 12.5, which is Shelby County Schools Partnership for Achieve 3000. Superintendent.
I think it was, I think Mr. Caldwell had some additional questions. Prepared to answer.
Mr. Caldwell, you had some questions?
Achieve 3,000.
Achieve.
Yes, I got some information from Dr. Griffin, and the numbers look great, but we talked about, based on the amount, we were serving 95,000 or 90 to 95,000 kids. And on top of the first page of this document, it says 47,652 Shelby County students accessing Achieve 3000. I guess, I don't know if Pro Boost is the same as the whole thing, but how many kids are actually using this, and are we getting the kind of usage?
Superintendent Hobson and Board Member Caldwell. We have approximately, the numbers you received from Dr. Griffin is correct. Since the beginning of August, we've had 47,500.
Could you speak into the microphone just a little bit?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we've had 47,562 students access Achieve 3000 Pro Boost, and we've had 35,989 students access Smarty Ants. Both programs are available for students in, I apologize. Smarty Ants available for grades K through 12, Pro Boost 1 through 12.
So cumulatively, there are 95,000 kids. Are all those numbers added together?
Actually, some of the
Roughly.
students may, yes, sir. Some of the students may access both programs depending on the needs, their needs.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that what we were paying was for the licenses for, 95,000 kids. So that's fine. That explains why this number was, was half of 95,000, because they just did one portion of it. May not be the one they need to do. Somebody else may do both of them, but the kids, theoretically, 95,000 students can use this program.
It's actually available for all students grade K through 12, but you'll also see where that number, based on our mobility being very high, any kid that come in, you're going to be easy CBM benchmark, and then you'll be placed in one of the appropriate tiers. So that 95 number can go up, give or take the kids that's enrolled in state or out of state.
Okay, that's all. I was just trying to make sure that the kids were using it, because I know that was what with Kaplan. I think we were finding kids weren't using that, and we were paying a decent amount of money for Kaplan training. This was years ago before y'all were here. So just checking on that. All right, I'm fine.
I remember Kaplan well, Mr. Caldwell.
So can I get a motion to approve Shelby County Schools partnership with Achieve 3000?
Motion.
Ms. Love, a second by Ms. Jones. Can I get a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel.
So,
Board Member Love. Board Member McCormick. Board Member Jones. Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell. Board Chair Avant.
aye.
You have 8 ayes.
That motion passes. Okay, just so I'm clear, 12.6 we still have is the extension for the bear, the warehouse lease extension. I want to make sure that we're clear that those were two different items. One was authority to negotiate, and this is the extension of the lease.
So, Madam Chair, if I could be recognized, I asked that item to be pulled.
Yes, ma'am.
So I now have clarity. And I'm in support of this item. I wasn't in support of the other item. I was out of the room. I would have voted no, but I was out. But this item I support.
Any other
So
questions?
I don't know if anyone else had any questions. I was the one who asked to pull it.
Mr. Caldwell?
Motion approved? Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
I can accept a motion to approve the lease extension. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Bibbs. Can I get a roll call vote?
Board Member Caldwell.
Aye.
Board Member Orgel.
Aye.
Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member McCormick.
Aye.
Board Member Jones.
Aye.
Board Member Bibbs. Board Member Cornell.
Aye.
Board Chair Avant.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes.
That motion passes. So there are no other items from the action agenda. And please understand, board members, as you're refreshing your board docs, they're not exactly lined up with board items because we have pulled them and made those action items based on how we pulled them from the agenda. We will reconcile those documents with the board docs. So I'm now going to move on to, that's it?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, so moved.
Resolution for when?
I move we adjourn.
Wait, no, 11.3, because we've now moved. Okay.
Oh, we had the resolution. That was on the consent agenda, wasn't it?
Yeah, the resolution was on the consent.
It was on the consent agenda.
Oh, it has to be read.
Oh.
Oh, you'd like to read it. Go ahead and let her read it.
Okay, so we're going to make sure that we have the resolution read into the record, and we want to make sure to read our resolution because Mr. Anthony Jones Jr. has been patient and waited through the entirety of this meeting. So, Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones. Ms. Love, I'm sorry.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Jones, I apologize for you patiently waiting. Can I have you guys' attention, please? All right. This is a resolution recognizing Anthony Jones Jr. as an outstanding coach and educator. Whereas Anthony Jones Jr. is a devoted Memphian who profoundly impacts the lives of all he meets, particularly his students. Whereas Mr. Jones is a 2004 graduate of Westwood High School who attends the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and whereas Mr. Jones played football as a wide receiver for the University of Tennessee Chattanooga Mocs from 2004 until 2007. And whereas Mr. Jones returned to Memphis to serve as an assistant coach for the Westwood High School football program from 2007 to 2010 and took over as the program's head coach in 2010. Whereas in 2010, under Mr. Jones' leadership, the Westwood High School football team had its first winning season in 18 years, marking the first of 3 state regional football championships and 3 conference championships in 2010, 2011, and 2012. And whereas Mr. Jones led the Cordova High School football program to its first winning season in 9 years, and his 2016 team posted the most wins in school history and advanced to the semifinals of TSSAA state championship. And whereas Mr. Jones was named a Liberty Bowl High School All-Star Game Assistant Coach 3 times in 2012, 2014, and 2015. And he was named the District 16A Coach of the Year in 2011 and 2012. Whereas he also garnered District 14A Coach of the Year honors in 2013, and whereas Mr. Jones players have received over 55 scholarships in only 6 years. Now therefore be it resolved that the Shelby County Board of Education recognizes Mr. Anthony Jones as an outstanding educator throughout Shelby County and congratulates Mr. Jones on his new position as the assistant coach of the University of Memphis football program. This has been submitted on the 30th day of January 2018, and it is sponsored by every board member of the Shelby County School Board. So could we have Mr. Jones to come forward to accept it?
Yes, that's all. Because we're Mr. Jones, all of us are in full support of this resolution, so we want to thank him for his service.
Oh, the 10th board member that one again? You have to ask the chair.
I thought you would have shared it.
Years ago. Oh, is it here?
Carry on. From a guy who's been there.
Yeah. See if I can.
Board members, as that was on the consent agenda, it has already passed. That resolution has already passed. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Ms. Love?
Second.
Okay. No, that's it. Meeting adjourned.
Billy, you could be quiet. What? That's not me.
Why didn't you ask the chair to do that?
Yeah. I didn't know how it was supposed to go. Oh. Oh, No, he's still right there. No, no, he is.